Today on Studio One, many families welcome foster children into their home, but the need is rising. We'll tell you how much. Also, we'll create a fresh cup of coffee with a barista. And it's not your average house or your average owner. We'll tell you why one man's paint job was spot on.
From the University of North Dakota, this is Studio One, celebrating 25 years.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Studio One. I'm Monty Cashel.
And I'm Katie Fletcher. Well, you hear music everywhere.
Oh yeah, people are tuned in all the time.
They definitely are, and some play instruments and some would rather just listen. But oftentimes, when people play instruments in high school and stuff, they may, as their life goes on, just kind of give it up eventually.
Yeah.
But some are really dedicated to their music and they keep on going with it. And later on in the show, we'll actually meet a man that did just that. He made his trumpet his career.
All right, sounds good. Also, every child needs a home. We'll show you how loving parents and foster kids can form a family.
And basic train technology has stayed constant. Steel wheels with a steel rail. And wrecks still happen. Later, we'll meet a man who studies railway disasters.
But first, here's today's news with Allie Strand.
Thanks, Monty and Katie. Paula Broadwell is currently in the middle of the Petraeus scandal in Washington. Her position as a commissioned officer gives her security clearance to access top security information, and now it's been taken away. Broadwell was recently discovered having an affair with former CIA Director David Petraeus. Authorities have found classified information on her personal computer. Investigators say she may have received the information due to her relationship with the director. Broadwell says the material was legally obtained as research for a book about Petraeus. Oil company BP says they will plead guilty to a dozen criminal felony charges. The charges stem from the 2010 oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. The accident caused 11 deaths and polluted the coastline with millions of barrels of oil. The company will pay a record fine of $4.5 billion in government penalties. A major civil trial set to take place in New Orleans has been delayed until February of 2013. Women have fought against the glass ceiling, voting rights, and the right to choose, but new data shows a salary gap is still present. The American Association of University Women reports there is an income issue for young adults right out of college. For every 82 cents women earn, men earn $1. They say the gender gap might relate to the chosen field of study. Males tend to choose more lucrative career paths. The study also shows men work more hours on average than women, but with regard to male and female with the same working hours and the same education, the report shows women were paid 7% less than men.
What's interesting is that over the last century, it's really remained pretty stagnant. I mean, obviously, in hundreds of years past, women have crept up to close that wage-gender gap.
Experts say another reason for the pay gap may be that men are more likely to negotiate salaries. If Polly wants a cracker, what would an elephant in Korea want? If asked, he may tell you. Koshik, a 22-year-old elephant from South Korea, has been found to imitate human speech. Zookeepers say he is able to say hello, sit down, no, and many other short words. Though researchers are not sure if Koshik understands the sounds he makes, he does respond when he is spoken to. It is believed that 5.5-ton elephant began imitating human words to bond with his caretakers. Koshik is also being taught to say, I love you. All children need to be taken care of. If the biological parents are not able to do so, there are special individuals who take these children under their wings.
In this neighborhood, you will find a house that has been a home to more than 50 children. Bill and Marcia Lund have been foster parents for the past 16 years. They have provided children with shelter, guidance, safety, and love.
No matter what, kids are kids, no matter where they come from. They just deserve to be taken care of.
According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, on any given day in the U.S., there are over 424,000 children in foster care. 50% of those children have chronic medical problems, 50% under the age of 5 have developmental delays, and 80% of all children in foster care have serious emotional problems. But for these children, this is only the beginning.
Foster care is temporary. It's not meant to be a permanent solution for children, so we look at that being just a temporary stop for them.
There she is! Hi, baby girl!
During a difficult time, many children may just need
the ability to be a part of a family. You know, many foster children feel, like that experience of being a part of, being accepted into another family while their own family is going through a crisis. It's comforting for them.
For Bill and Marcia, they have seen their impact on the children.
I remember you'd hold me anytime I wanted to be held. You just go, okay, I know I did my job.
The Lunds have received their own benefits from being foster parents as well.
It's what I'm supposed to do. I've got to have a baby for 16 years.
Are you my buddy? Are you?
The need for suitable foster parents continues to grow to nurture these children in need.
November is National Adoption Month. In the U.S., roughly 56,000 children are adopted each year from foster care. And that's the news for now. Monty and Katie.
Thanks, Allie. Well, it is that time of the year where it's like, do I need a snow shovel or not?
Yep, do I wear those hat and mittens? Well, let's go to Stephanie Waldrop to learn about the weather news.
Thanks, Katie and Monty. Last weekend, actually, we had 2 small tornadoes hit the metro area of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Now, it was a very rare occurrence because tornadoes have not happened this late in the season for a very long time. Now, there was 2 weak EF tornadoes, and it downed trees and power lines and also caused a lot of straight line wind damage throughout the area. Now, what caused these tornadoes was the above average temperatures throughout much of the metro city area in Minneapolis and St. Paul. They saw temperatures in the lower 70s, and that, along with the cold front that came in from the Dakotas, was enough energy to produce these tornadoes. Now, there was 2 of them. The first one was down in Burnsville, Minnesota, and with that one we saw winds of 80 miles per hour, and we also saw 2.6 miles of damage throughout the area. Now, the second one was a lot smaller up in Mendota Heights, but with that one we also saw very strong winds of 75 miles per hour and half-mile long worth of damage. Now, throughout these tornadoes there was 12,000 people without power, mainly in the Mendota and the St. Paul area. And along with that, right after these tornadoes hit 24 hours, some areas saw snow of about 0.25 inches. Now, for the rest of the week, though, we are going to have much warmer than average conditions throughout much of the United States, all the way from the West Coast, stretching up into Maine, and then cooler than average conditions down in the southeastern areas of Florida and Georgia. Now, as far as precipitation goes, we are going to be seeing wetter than average conditions in the northeast and also in the northwest from the Canadian border stretching down into California, and then drier than average conditions into Texas and into the northern plains. Now, that brings us to our weather question of the day. Where will the next total eclipse be visible from? And our answers are Western Europe, China, United States, and Brazil. And later on in the show, we are going to have some footage of the solar eclipse that happened in Australia earlier on in the week.
All right, now Stephanie, you were talking about tornadoes, and you said they were rare. How rare are they?
Well, the National Weather Service actually started keeping track of tornadoes in the 1950s, and tornadoes this late haven't ever been recorded when the National Weather Service started that in the 1950s.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie.
All right, so that'd be something for the record books, I guess.
Definitely.
All right, well, let's turn to some sports news now, and Allie Strand.
Thanks, Monty and Katie. The doping scandal surrounding cyclist Lance Armstrong is causing another big change. The Lance Armstrong Foundation has formally dropped Armstrong's name from its title. For years, the foundation has been known informally as Livestrong, the word inscribed on its signature yellow wristband. But its full title has included Armstrong's name. The organization is now officially called the Livestrong Foundation. Armstrong founded the charity in 1997 after he was diagnosed with testicular cancer. He stepped down as chairman last month after the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency said Armstrong was involved in the biggest doping scandal in the sport's history. For many kids, hula hooping has always been a go-to during recess, and now many adults are turning back to their childhood ways. A new workout using the age-old product, the hula hoop, is catching popularity in gyms nationwide. A study performed by the American Council of Exercise shows a person can burn about 200 calories in a 30-minute workout. The study also shows that using a weighted hula hoop can double the amount of calories a person can burn.
It strengthens your core meaning pretty much your shoulders to your hips.
Hula hooping has been around since as early as the 5th century in ancient Greece. And you never know, maybe the next fitness trend will use skip-its for an unconventional workout. And now it's time for the Studio One sports trivia question. On average, which sports contest lasts the longest? Is it A, football, B, baseball, C, horse racing, or D, cricket? We'll have that answer and more sports later on in the show. Monty and Katie?
Thanks a lot, Allie. The final chapter of Edward and Bella's love will be revealed in the latest movie of the Twilight Saga. Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, and Taylor Lautner star in Breaking Dawn Part 2. We'll preview that film.
Also, train wrecks are dangerous and most of us don't want anything to do with them. Next, we'll meet a man who looks closer than most at the accidents.
Life is busy, but many professionals are finding ways to advance their career with a Master's in Business Administration at the University of North Dakota. Students attend UND online and on campus. The program is nationally recognized and emphasizes one-on-one with faculty. Find the title you deserve. Enroll today.
At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
This scene is familiar, but you and your friends are at risk. 1 in 3 Americans will die from heart disease or stroke. Think about it, 1 in 3. Every day, more than 2,000 Americans die from cardiovascular disease. The Million Hearts Initiative works to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes. Understand the risks, get active, and reduce sodium and trans fats in your diet. It's a silent killer, but now is the time to take control of your health. Learn more about making a heart-healthy future.
Awarded the overall excellence in cable TV by the Northwest Broadcast News Association, this is Studio One.
Trains are an essential part of life. They help us move from location to location, but sometimes they can be troublesome. Professor of Engineering George Bible wrote a book about train wrecks. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
And it's not the first time you've been on the show because you wrote an earlier book on plane crashes.
Yes, I did.
So why the particular interest in the wrecks?
Well, I'm a mechanical engineering professor, and I'll start out to make my lectures more interesting, so I use it a lot in lecture.
Sure.
And it's kind of a science book that tells stories, or storybook that tells science.
Yeah, and that's my next question, leading perfectly into my next question. What can someone expect when they open up this book and start reading it? Is it statistical? Is it stories? Is it both? What kind of a book is it?
Well, it explains how trains crash and what happens when they do, and it tries to use high school level science to explain some of the principles involved. So, for example, surprisingly, they still have the same problems they did 100 years ago, just a lot less often.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how does your engineering background fit in with the writing?
Well, I use a lot of basic science like Newton's laws and things like that. And I'm very interested in how things break.
Okay. And we have a picture of a train wreck. What are some of the main causes of the train wrecks in your book? And this is the cover of your book here right now. But what kinds of wrecks? Well, trains derail or fly off the tracks, or they collide and they derail maybe 100 times more often than they collide. And so typically they derail because of broken equipment. Collisions occur because of human error. A driver does the equivalent of driving through a stoplight. Sure. And we do have an example of that. There's a wreck in particular in your book, the picture of one where texting was the cause of the accident. Yeah, this made a lot of national news in 2008 in Los Angeles. The driver drove past 3 warning signs to stop because he was busy texting, and they were going about 43 miles an hour, hit a freight train going about an equal speed, and it shoved the locomotive into the first passenger car and killed 25 people in Los Angeles. Yeah, and that was in the media for quite a while. Yes. The accidents happen. What happens after the accidents? How do they figure out what happened? Well, the National Transportation Safety Board has a government mandate to investigate all transportation accidents, including plane crashes and train wrecks and even pipeline leaks. So they'll swoop down, especially on all the big headline grabbers, and totally take over the investigation. And they almost always find the problem. Sure. And you know, once they find out the problem, you know, what kind of things have been taken, safety precautions, I guess, that engineers have, the train engineers, what do they do now compared to when trains first came out? What were some of the bigger safety things that try and prevent wrecks? Well, they passed laws about not texting while driving a train. That's an easy one. Sure. They're in the process of trying to have computers take control and when the driver drives through a stop sign. And that, in fact, Congress passed a law after that accident, but they're having a hard time doing it. It doesn't look like they're going to meet the deadline. Mm-hmm. It's cell phone technology, and just like we have drop calls, they have reliability issues, and then there's bandwidth problems. They can't get enough radio frequency in large cities. Used to give it away, now it's all gobbled up because everyone's using a cell phone. Sure, and you know, we're talking about technology, but the basic technology of trains are the same, right? And we have a picture of an older picture of trains. What are we looking at? This is in your book as well. Well, this is a control tower. There used to be hundreds of them out and about the countryside, and those levers would activate pipes. They might be hundreds of feet long to change a switch or a signal, and they'd be interlocked, so they could only do it in a certain sequence to prevent collisions, and it's all been automated. It's all automated now today. Okay. Well, they'll have the same thing controlled remotely by a dispatcher. Sure. I have to ask one last question. What gets you excited about these kinds of topics? Well, I think they're interesting. They're attention grabbers. They're headline grabbers, and I think the students get more interesting. I think when you can relate to real life interesting stories and disasters, it makes it more interesting for the students, and it's more interesting for me too. Sure. All right. Well, it is interesting. Thank you for coming on the show today and talking to us about your book. Thank you for inviting me. All right. Coming up, they climb for fitness, fun, and excitement. We'll take you to a competition that has people bouncing off the walls. Also, for some, coffee is the key component to the start of any day. We'll spend a day in the life of someone who creates brews.
I'm Julie Beck. We're at the TV production company Rocket in Oslo, Norway, where I get to do casting, research, and directing. I am a Studio One and UND alum. Congratulations, Studio One, on 25 great years. Keep up the amazing work, and thanks for everything that you have taught me. Bye!
Studio One closed captioning is underwritten in part by Options, your disability information source.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
My doctor tells me to play outside every day.
I see a physician assistant in my rural clinic. I'm glad that she's here.
But healthcare is changing.
Rural North Dakota communities face workforce shortages, particularly in primary care. The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences addresses the state's healthcare needs by educating the next generation of healthcare professionals. We advocate for improved health in rural communities.
Your future depends on this moment. Take the path that leads to your future.
The University of North Dakota is a place where students thrive, where personal connections matter, where classmates become friends, where leading scholars become mentors. Experience our expertise. Creative, innovative, entrepreneurial, spirited. This is the University of North Dakota.
Every vampiric moment has led up to this. The passion, struggle, and mystery comes to an intense closing in the new film Twilight, Breaking Dawn Part 2. Brought back from near death by Edward, Bella Swan begins her new life as a vampire and mother. With the new child being born, the Cullens band together with vampires from around the world. They stand united against the law enforcers of the vampires. This film concludes the love story between Edward and Bella.
You know, the only worry is Bella, how she's going to behave as a vampire, if she's going to go crazy, especially because she's probably stronger than all the Cullens put together at the beginning.
Breaking Dawn Part 2 brings back the majority of the cast plus 30 new vampire characters. The film cost about $136 million to produce. The movie opens November 16th with a PG-13 rating. Now it's time to look at the events happening in your area. Whether you are a construction worker, doctor, or student, it is expected you wake up early each morning to begin your day. For many, the day doesn't truly start until they've had the hot cup of joe.
It's a place that has regulars who order regular, decaf, and extra strength.
I come here at least 3-4 times a week.
It's a place where addiction is encouraged.
This is my vice, coffee.
We just kind of met today and started talking, but I don't go to bars either, so this is kind of the hangout.
You see coffee shops like this in Minneapolis and, Chicago, basically, so it's a little bit more like that.
You'll find steamed milk, coffee beans, and whipped cream here, but you certainly won't find a commercial coffee cafe.
No, it's really not like a Starbucks at all. People come in here sometimes asking for frappuccinos. It's like, you don't make frappuccinos. Like, that's a Starbucks thing.
As a barista, Michelle is able to whip up some of her own concoctions.
There isn't like a specific number of pumps you have to put in a drink. Like, we get to a lot of like creative like power basically to make up our own drinks.
Each time she makes a new drink, Michelle is expected to taste it.
I made up something called the Seattle Fog, and I made it with like steamed milk and a little bit of sugar-free vanilla and the tea, and it's so good. Oh my gosh, it's my new favorite.
Michelle is a barista for more than her love for caffeine.
It's the people. I love the people downtown. I love the people who hang out around here. I love chatting. I meet people every time I work, so I've made a lot of really good friends here.
And so for Michelle, there is one ingredient that is far more important than steamed milk, coffee beans, and whipped cream. It's the people, and of course the regulars. With photographer Doug Amdam, this is Avery Hagasog reporting for Studio One.
CBS News says more than half of all Americans drink coffee every day, 3 to 4 cups each, and more than 330 million cups per day. Coming up, rain or shine, snow or wind, these workers are in the trenches no matter what. We'll tell you how construction crews brave Old Man Winter. That story, plus news, sports, and weather in the next half hour of Studio One.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by NDAD, helping others to help themselves.
At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today.
Life is busy, but many professionals are finding ways to advance their career with a Master's in Business Administration at the University of North Dakota. Students attend UND online and on campus. The program is nationally recognized and emphasizes one-on-one with faculty. Find the title you deserve. Enroll today.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
From the University of North Dakota, celebrating 25 years, this is Studio One.
Welcome back to Studio One.
Thanks for joining us today. Well, the holiday season creeping upon us, and as well creeping around are the flu bugs.
Yeah, they definitely are. All the sicknesses are coming in.
That's right. So, and a lot of people get flu shots to try and combat this. There's actually a Missouri hospital employee who was mandated to get it by the hospital, but they refused, and now they may be facing some disciplinary action. So we wanted your thoughts on whether hospital employees should have to get the flu shot or not. And your answers are coming up. Also, in the next 30 minutes on Studio One, the election is over, but now the compromise begins. Find out how both parties want to reach across the aisle.
And every town has a landmark. Find out how one ordinary house in a typical town has become an amusing attraction.
Also, many people have the opportunity to play in a band at some point in their life. Some continue with this interest. Later we will meet a man who made trumpet playing his profession. But first, here's today's news with Ali Strand.
Thanks, Monty and Katie. President Obama defended UN Ambassador Susan Rice at a presidential press conference on Wednesday. The Secretary of State hopeful was criticized for her misleading interviews after the September 11th Benghazi attacks in Libya. Former Republican presidential candidate John McCain called Rice deceptive after she blamed the terrorist attack on the anti-Islam video put on YouTube. McCain and Senator Lindsey Graham are threatening to form Watergate-style hearings on the Benghazi attacks. President Obama defended Rice by saying if McCain and Graham wanted to go after somebody, they can go after him. A second day of air assaults and naval attacks on the Gaza Strip were launched by Israeli military on Thursday. This is a response to the nearly 200 rockets that were fired into southern Israel villages by the Hamas militia group. 3 Israelis were killed from the shower of air missiles. The violence escalated following Israel's assassination of the Hamas chief military official on Wednesday. Many people are told they should exercise when they feel a little blue. A new study from Columbia University now proves that this is good advice, with an exception. The study shows that you should not exercise more than 7.5 hours a week. The subjects in the study who engaged in physical activity less than 2 hours or more than 7 hours per week were reported to have poorer mental health than those in between. The study also found adults in good physical condition had better mental health than smokers and obese people. Experts recommend exercising an average of 45 minutes a day or 5 hours a week. Cyberbullying may not be just a problem for children. A study by researchers at Nottingham University shows cyberbullying can be just as harmful to adults as conventional bullying, especially in the workplace. Cyberbullying can include Facebook, emails, and texts. Surveys conducted found that 8 out of 10 people had experienced some kind of cyberbullying at work in the past 6 months. This kind of harassment can have a greater effect due to the fact it can be repeated on a daily basis. The election is over, but that doesn't mean all is well in Washington. While America may have decided on a Democratic president, the House may be less accepting to Democratic policies. This has many focused on one thing: bipartisanship.
On November 6th, voters took their place to privately fill out their ballots and contribute to democracy. After the polls closed, both Republicans and Democrats sought out like-minded voters and anxiously awaited the results at election parties. As President Barack Obama was announced the winner, excitement filled the air. But the Democrats' chants and cheers may be cut short by a House of Representatives that sits 234 Republicans next to 195 Democrats.
Our House and Senate races are going to help to determine whether we stay on the course that we've been on the last 4 years, or whether we look at maybe changing the direction that we're looking at going.
Obama stated the following in his victory speech: "In the coming weeks and months, I am looking forward to reaching out and working with leaders of both parties to meet the challenges we can only solve together."
This hope for bipartisanship may be where the country is headed. The election results show an almost completely divided America, with Obama leading the popular vote 50.6% to Romney's 47.8%. 3% is not a very big margin.
Compromises may need to be reached because so far there hasn't been much cooperation.
That House and Senate is going to be a big component of how the makeup of our country is, and the bodies that are making decisions.
Not one Republican House or Senate member provided a vote for the health care law. While the relationship between the two parties is tense, there is still hope for the future. The next big obstacle for politicians to overcome has been titled fiscal cliff. Republicans have voiced that they are confident they will be able to reach a compromise. This is a first step to closing the divisional gap that was seen during the election. With photographer Jay Millspaw, I'm Victor Correa reporting for Studio One.
The fiscal cliff will come at the end of 2012. It will end last year's temporary payroll tax cuts and certain tax breaks for businesses. And that's the news for now. Monty and Katie?
Thanks, Allie. So I wonder who coined the term cliff, like the fiscal
cliff?
Yeah.
That's a good
Sounds
question.
Sounds scary.
It really does. Well, let's go now to the weather with Stephanie Waldroth.
Thanks, Katie and Monty. On Wednesday, November 14th, Australia was one of the only places where you could see one of the most rare and most exciting astrological events of all, the total solar eclipse. Now, Queen's hotels in Australia were booked for over 3 years, with almost 60,000 enthusiasts coming from all over the world. And although the weather didn't cooperate earlier on in the day, it did clear up just in time to catch a glimpse of the solar eclipse. Now, because of all the people that came into Australia, $75 million of tourist revenue came into Australia, and the next total eclipse is going to be in 2015, being seen in Western Europe, but the next solar eclipse that will be able to be seen in the United States will be in 2017. Now, workers all over the area are often, construction workers all over the area are oftentimes trying to get work done before the snow comes.
When winter rolls around, most people try to stay indoors. But for some, that's not an option. Construction progress continues no matter what the season.
A lot of projects need finished up, so you just go as long as you can finishing what you had set up for the year.
Construction workers have to spend almost their entire shift outside, sometimes in sub-zero temperatures. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, has a cold stress equation. It states that at temperatures of around 0 degrees, exposed skin can freeze in under a minute in even a slight breeze. Unfortunately, there's no magic method to staying warm.
No, you just gear up, if you have to, you jump in and pick up, warm up.
But even if the workers are bundled up, their equipment might not be. At a certain point, machines refuse to work even if people don't.
Stuff starts running really hard, like 10, 15 below, that's the temperature. And then you got wind chill that affects it all too, so.
With all of the complications of the winter months, it's no question what this construction worker prefers.
But if it's winter, summer, I'd take the heat over the cold anytime.
From baking in the heat to freezing in the cold, construction workers constantly feel weather's powerful grip. I'm Jonathan Metz, reporting for Studio One Weather.
Now, OSHA says to not rub cold skin because it actually causes more damage than it does good. Now, that brings us back to our weather question of the week. Where will the next total eclipse be visible from? And the correct answer is Western Europe. So like I said earlier in the show, 2015 is when it will be, so you might want to make your hotel plans right now.
Definitely. Thanks, Stephanie.
Better book that flight.
Bring some revenue to Western Europe.
That's right. Okay, let's turn again to sports and Allie Strand.
Thanks, Monty and Katie. It takes patience, practice, and determination to reach a goal. One business is helping all of its clients get to the top.
Residents of this area are aware of their landscape.
You can see from here to Montana, and the highest elevation is the overpass over the interstate.
So two men decided if they build it, all will climb.
No one was really interested in being the one to take on the endeavor, but everyone thought it was an interesting idea. So we decided to build a climbing gym.
North Dakota is a flat land, to say the least, and we are pretending like it's not. So we climb rocks at 45 degrees out from the wall, pretending like we're in Colorado, basically.
So build they did, 10 years ago this weekend.
And it's really been fun to take that kind of a sport and bring it into the state of North Dakota.
And with an anniversary comes a celebration.
We have about 50 competitors that came out today to compete in the competition.
In this competition, there is just one enemy, a vicious villain that claims many victims.
Ours are completely flat walls, so when we take off holds and put new holds on, we can make the wall a completely new experience for the climbers.
It's so technical, it's like it's a vertical puzzle with your body.
Call it what you want, this activity has many taking the high road, keeping climbers content in the flatland. I'm Brian Gendreau reporting for Studio One.
The Rock Gym fills up for birthday parties as well as office events. The owners say because of the buddy system involved in spotting climbers, the activity is tremendous for gaining trust with others. And now the answer to this week's Studio One sports trivia question. On average, which sports contest lasts the longest? And the answer is cricket. An international cricket match lasts about 7 to 8 hours. And that's the sports for now. Monty and Katie?
Thanks, Allie. People have various hobbies and talents. Rarely are people equally talented in both. We met a man who juggles Division I hockey and music making.
Also, many people agonize over paint colors for their house. One man chose a dozen or so and stuck with them. Find out his reason for coloring up the neighborhood.
This scene is familiar, but you and your friends are at risk. 1 in 3 Americans will die from heart disease or stroke. Think about it. 1 in 3. Every day, more than 2,000 Americans die from cardiovascular disease. The Million Hearts Initiative works to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes. Understand the risks, get active, and reduce sodium and trans fats in your diet. It's a silent killer, but now is the time to take control of your health. Learn more about making a heart-healthy future.
At the University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, classes have real-life application. Mentors guide students. Our work improves quality of life by answering tough questions with creativity and innovation. The University of North Dakota College of Engineering and Mines, training tomorrow's engineering and geology experts today.
What does cancer look like? What about diabetes, heart disease? Medical laboratory professionals are a vital link in the treatment of disease and maintenance of health. They investigate clues found in the body that will direct patient care. The University of North Dakota's laboratory science programs are some of the most innovative, far-reaching, fully accredited programs in the nation. The UND School of Medicine and Health Sciences can help you become one of the few who see beneath the surface.
Most people don't know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. My time clock is around the clock. My ideas are fresh, but they need research and development. My business plan includes marketing strategies, legal documents, and a budget. My startup became possible through mentorship, hands-on experience, and learning from experts in the field. The Center for Innovation has contributed to more than 400 University of North Dakota student startups. Come with an idea. Leave with a business.
Celebrating 25 years. You're watching Studio One from the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks.
Hockey is a fast-paced and rugged sport. The players are more likely to plant a punch than paint a picture. For one player, it is instrumental that he expresses himself when off the ice.
Tate Maris is a goalie on one of the most prestigious college hockey teams in the country. He says defending the crease is one of his true passions in life. However, it's not the only one.
They're two completely different things. As far as passions go, really those are my two biggest passions, and if I'm not doing one, I'm doing the other.
Not only can he stop the puck, but he can strum a guitar as well.
Honestly, hockey's probably fueled a lot of what comes out of my music. You know, you get on stage, you start singing, and you just get in your element, and you feel good, and you know, it's where you're supposed to be.
At age 24, Tate is releasing his second CD. Although they are completely different, Tate says hockey and music are intertwined within his life.
They fuel each other and fuel my love for one another. So, you know, I can't go into a hockey game without listening to music before it, and you know, I can't be passionate about music without having something like hockey around. I'm just kind of living in the moment and having fun and doing what I am right now because I'm having a blast.
One night it may be glove saves, the next night it's singing into a microphone. Tate says as long as he is able to live out his passions, he is content. I'm Corey Robertson, reporting for Studio One.
Tate's ultimate goal is to one day play professional hockey. However, he says he hopes he will always have music in his life. Flu season generally flares up in November. A vaccine is highly recommended, but we still have the right to make that choice. In West St. Louis County, Missouri, a Mercy Hospital employee is facing disciplinary action after refusing to get this vaccine. We wanted your thoughts on whether you think healthcare professionals should be required to get the flu shot.
It would benefit them to get the flu shot because since they are working with people, that way, you know, they're not enabling any kind of viruses coming in and out to where they're working.
Oh yeah, especially since people have to go in there to get better.
I think they should have to, just for the safety of other patients.
I think they should have the choice. Everyone should have the choice.
I think they should, since they're working around people who are like sick or can easily get sick, so that'll prevent them from spreading it to them.
It just seems like if they get the right strain, it works out great. If it's a different strain for that year that doesn't match up with the flu shot, I don't think it serves much purpose. So it just really depends on what the vaccine is and if the vaccination is the right one.
I think probably everybody should have a right to decide for themselves. I would prefer, I think, if they did it. It seems to me that if everybody did it, I'm safer. If I do it, then people around me are safer. But I do think that probably it ought to be an individual decision.
A comment from our Facebook page in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Jeremy says you shouldn't be able to force people to get health treatments that they don't want, regardless of what their job is. If they end up getting the flu, then it is their money they lose by not being able to go to work. Another from Amanda in Williston. She says they are working with patients who can be susceptible to the virus, and also they see several people in one day and could be passing the virus to all of them. So I do think they should get it. The Centers for Disease Control say everyone 6 months of age and older should get the flu shot, although they quickly add that if they are susceptible to complications, they should not. We all have challenges that come our way. One man found his problem could be solved with some fresh paint and a crazy idea.
Every community has its local landmarks. For some, it can be simple things like the post office, library, or city hall. In Grand Forks, North Dakota, these landmarks signify the passion and charm of the residents who call this town home. And for one of those residents, charm seems to come in 12 different colors.
It's the best project I ever did. It was the funnest project I've ever done. I mean, it's got so much. I mean, if I had $1 for every car and every picture that's been taken, you know, I'd be rich.
This past spring, homeowner Jim Dietz came up with a crazy idea to brighten up the neighborhood. The 100-year-old house he rented out needed a little sprucing up. So following a fun idea from a friend, Jim decided to unleash the polka dots. But the dots spread to more than just the house.
The guy inside the house here had come out, "You're famous," you know, and I don't have time to worry about it, you know, but my sister was texting me. I said, I don't care, I don't have time. I just kept painting.
News of Jim and his polka-dotted house traveled around the country and even bounced across the pond to the UK. And while millions read in amazement, Jim's tenants soaked it all in. Their home had become this fun and quirky icon everyone seemed to know about.
At first it was. Because you see polka dots on your house. Okay, it's a little crazy. But right now I don't even see them anymore. Yeah, you don't even see them until someone mentions it.
Although reporters came for the dots, they stayed for the controversy. Before Jim had come up with the idea, he had been in works with the city to sell the house and retire. But after the sale fell through, Jim decided to make the best of a bad situation and transform the house from a rundown old building to a whimsical part of the community. Critics argued the house had been turned into an even bigger eyesore than before. But Jim just ignored them and kept on painting.
99% of the people just love it. They stop and take pictures right in the middle of the street. And, well, people that live in Grand Forks, everybody knows the polka dotted house now, you know. If you don't, you haven't been downtown.
6 months later, the house has become a local landmark. And it's definitely not a place people will have trouble finding.
Well, one of my friends didn't know my address, and he put Vicki Samuels, ? polka dotted house. And it got here.
What started as an eccentric idea transformed into a hallmark of the town. Jim and his polka dotted house have become the newest wacky addition to the local community. This is Olivia Fox reporting for Studio One.
Jim borrowed a friend's lift to reach the higher points on the house. He used 12 colors of paint, stencils, and rollers to complete the project. Still to come, synthesizers are an electronic instrument that allow people to create a variety of sounds. Next, we'll meet a professional trumpeter whose synthesized instrument looks like a brass instrument.
Studio One is a television show produced by students at the University of North Dakota.
You can be a part of the graphics team, the marketing team, news team, programming team, production team.
Training never ends.
You get to
produce guests, you get to do the reporting side of it. It's really worth the experience. You will not regret it.
This scene is familiar, but you and your friends are at risk. 1 in 3 Americans will die from heart disease or stroke. Think about it, 1 in 3. Every day, more than 2,000 Americans die from cardiovascular disease. The Million Hearts Initiative works to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes. Understand the risks, get active, and reduce sodium and trans fats in your diet. It's a silent killer, but now is the time to take control of your health. Learn more about making a heart-healthy future.
My doctor tells me to play outside every day.
I see a physician assistant in my rural clinic. I'm glad that she's here.
But healthcare is changing.
Rural North Dakota communities face workforce shortages, particularly in primary care. The University of North Dakota School of Medicine and Health Sciences addresses the state's healthcare needs by educating the next generation of healthcare professionals. We advocate for improved health in rural communities.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
The trumpet is an instrument that can be used to create a variety of music. This instrument is as commonly found in an orchestra as it is in freestyle jazz. Professional trumpeter Ronnie Engel is here to talk about the beautiful and unconventional sounds he can make with his trumpets. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Katie, for having me here.
Now, what is your history with the trumpet?
Well, my family were very musical people. My mother played piano, my father played guitar, and my brother played the trumpet. He got the trumpet from his uncle, so it was just a natural thing for me to do, is to take it out of the closet and play it.
Now, pretty much everyone has maybe, at least touched an instrument at some point in their life, but not many have, made it their career. What does that take to make it your career?
Well, you have to have a passion for it. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I think very early on there were some people in my life that were instrumental in me continuing. I learned about some professional trumpet players, in particular Doc Severinsen, Maynard Ferguson, and I just used to love to hear the sound of the trumpet. And as a result of that, I just continued to play the trumpet. I still love it today.
Okay, great. Where are some places that your trumpeting career has taken you?
Well, it's taken me to a lot of places. I recently have played in some international venues like Brazil. I played a concert there with Brazilian National Television in a festival there. I played in Australia recently, and Sweden. So I've played in a lot of places. I play here. I play around the United States. I do play a lot.
Now, what would you say was maybe your highest point of your career so far?
Well, in terms of performing, I think probably the concert that I did in Brazil, there were 2,500, maybe 3,000 people. It was on the national television. It was a big highlight. I played solo with the orchestra there with Pro Musica. I think that was one of the biggest highlights.
Now, you are holding two different trumpets in your hand right now, right. And this one looks very familiar, but this one does not. What is this?
Well, this one is very fun. It's a MIDI wind controller. It's an electronic instrument. And so what it does, I've always been really interested in synthesized sounds, but I've not been a piano player. If you can play a synthesizer, then you're okay. But if you're a trumpet player, you really can't do that. But now, you can do that with this instrument. It works and controls synthesized sounds in the same way a piano player can do it on a keyboard.
Now, we actually have some audio of this synthesized sound, and we're going to take a listen to that right now.
Thank you.
Now, that doesn't exactly sound like a trumpet. What are we listening to here?
Well, it's the piece is a piece called Meditation, Antonio Carlos Jobim. But the solo, it sounds like a guitar because that's exactly what it is, only it's triggered by this instrument. So you play the notes here, and the sound that comes out is a guitar. It could be a flute, it could be a helicopter. It really doesn't matter.
What are some of the benefits of this technology?
Well, there's a lot of benefits, and I'm really teaching this to my students in terms of being marketable. You know, there's a lot of benefits. If you want to be hired as a trumpet player, that's great, and that's one thing. But if someone needs a bass player, if someone needs a flute player, they can hire you also. You just trigger it in the same way that you do a trumpet.
Well, now we've heard the synthesized sound, but we want to hear you play. So we'll go ahead and do that now. And what exactly are you going to be playing today?
Well, this is a piece by Alan Vizzuti, great trumpet player, great composer, and it's based on a Gregorian chant.
All right, well, thanks so much for coming on the show, and have at it.
Thank you for having me.
You're watching Studio One. We'll be right back after this.
Closed captioning for Studio One is underwritten in part by NDAD, helping others to help themselves.
It's not the size of the woman in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the woman.
The University of North Dakota is a place where students thrive, where they learn from leading experts, share in discoveries and create knowledge. Experience our expertise. Creative, innovative, entrepreneurial, spirited. This is the University of North Dakota.
Most people don't know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. My time clock is around the clock. My ideas are fresh, but they need research and development. My business plan includes marketing strategies, legal documents, and a budget. My startup became possible through mentorship, hands-on experience, and learning from experts in the field. The Center for Innovation has contributed to more than 400 University of North Dakota student startups. Come with an idea. Leave with a business.
Studio One is a television show produced by students at the University of North Dakota. You can be a part of the graphics team, the marketing team, news team, programming team, production team.
Training never ends.
You get to produce guests, you get to do the reporting side of it.
It's really worth the experience. You will not regret it.
in next week on Studio One. We'll show you how some artists banded together to help spread their creativity. Plus, we'll have other news and entertainment stories for you.
We're going to leave you now with pictures of a craft show, courtesy of photographer Jay Millspa. From all of us here at Studio One, have a great week.